So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. Should you buy the iPhone SE from 2020 in 2023? So we all know the best iPhone SE was the very first original SE that came out. Great price, 4-inch screen, but this was the long-awaited, successor to that phone, and it was pretty good. And then the next SE that came out that's currently for sale now, it's kind of boring because they didn't really change much from this one, and we already knew this was a recycled iPhone 8 design. But right now you can find this iPhone SE at some really low prices, $134, $179. I mean, for a phone that has respectable specifications on here, you can definitely find this really low at this point. So a great way to enter the ecosystem. We have an Apple A13 Bionic on here, which is very similar to the one found in iPhone 11, iPhone 11 Pro Max, and iPhone 11 Pro, which we already talked about is a stellar performer still in 2023. So at this price point, super cheap way to maybe have a backup iPhone, or even you can use this as an iPod if you're not going to put your SIM in this card or in this phone right here. And that could be a great deal as well. But I can tell you the performance here on the latest 16.3 is no problem, which is pretty cool, considering that just the price point of this. And it's just really nice to be able to recommend an iPhone to somebody who's, not in a position to get a more premium version with the latest software with still solid speed. So what about the overall build in the body? Well, because Apple has kept around the classic iPhone design with the current SE in the lineup, I still think this is a decent option. You can go pick up the newer version for cheaper. Not for cheaper. You can pick up this version for cheaper, but you can pick up this for a little bit cheaper than when it first came out. You're going to get the same build faster chip than the SE from 2020. But at the same time, do you really need the Apple A15? I would beg probably to say no, you wouldn't. In terms of the camera, though, they did improve that with the newer version. So let's go ahead and take a look at the camera here. This is just a very basic point and shoot style of system here, and I do think that for having 4K 60, it's a great little starter iPhone. And honestly, because Apple's been using phase detection on most of their cameras with the autofocus, it means that you have better autofocus and better video on here than a lot of cheapy Android phones. Not budget mid-rangers, but cheapy ones. So it's pretty good. And then on the front-facing camera, you're not going to have the best out here. It's just going to be a decent front-facing camera. HD 30, 720p. It's not really high-end, but iPhone does a pretty good job with the overall face and stuff like that. So shouldn't be a big issue as well. Overall, though, pretty decent. Portrait modes on here, panoramic modes. So overall, a very simple, classy, easy to use front-facing shooter on this iPhone SE from 2022 or from 2020. So really decent option here. Now, the weight of this phone is also pretty nice, 148 grams. So it's super lightweight and it's super thin at just 7.3 millimeters thick. And so you have a phone that not only feels very pocketable and easy to use, but still has plenty of performance day to day. Now, in terms of the actual software, you're still gonna have to pull up from the bottom to get to Control Center. On this one, it's kind of natural on this phone though, because you have that bezel, so you can kind of just swipe up like that. And you won't have 3D touch on here. It still has haptic press, so a little bit slower with its actions there. But still, it's not a big issue. It's still pretty fast in most areas. And honestly, day to day, it's consistent. So that's pretty good. I would say also, you're gonna have to pull it down like that. You do have the battery percentage already available on screen, so they didn't really need to put it inside of the battery icon. Of course, widget support is on board for you as well. So if you want to go ahead and add widgets to this phone right here, you can go ahead and do that. And basically, you're gonna get an experience that is basically like what people are getting on brand new iPhones from the Apple Store today. So even though this phone is 3 years old and it does have a price tag under $200, really, Apple's been pretty consistent for a while here. So you're not really getting nothing terrible at all here. It's pretty impressive, how cheap you can get an iPhone now. This one right here also does give you a 4.7-inch Retina display. That is 326 pixels per inch, so it's not going to be the sharpest, but because it's across a smaller panel, like this 4.7-inch screen, it's not really a big issue. I also will say that having the curved edges on here, just like the iPhone 11, makes this super comfortable in the hand. Some people miss this. And Touch ID being in the bezel right there, you know that thing is super reliable all day, every day, even more reliable than Face ID because it works in every single situation. So still a very usable way to unlock an iPhone with the Touch ID. So that's also pretty good. What are the cons of getting this right now, though? Maybe you're not going to have as long a software support as some of the newer phones. You know, it starts out at 64 gigabytes. So if you're looking for a little bit more storage on here, you're not going to get that for this phone. You know, it does start out at 64. I got the 128. 3 gigabytes of RAM means that, you know, you're not going to be able to have quite as good as multitasking, app switching, might reload something if you have a ton open. And let's talk about the battery life, because this is an area where this one is not very good. It wasn't very good from the start, and it's still not very good to this day. This type of phone that you don't use it that much throughout the day and you'll make it. But if you start using it heavy, you're going to be charging this one middle of the way through the day, or even, you know, before bedtime. You're not going to make it all the way till bedtime with this one using it. I'm not saying taking a couple text messages, taking a few photos, you know, here and there, and leave it in your pocket all day. Any phone will last like that. I mean, using it. So definitely not the best battery life, but of course, how's it going to be when it has an 1821 milliamp? It's a very small battery in here. It does come in black, white, and product red. So do keep that in mind. So you do have quite a few color options, and you don't get the latest Bluetooth standards on here, the latest Wi-Fi standards on here. This one also doesn't have 5G, so it's a 4G LTE phone. So do keep that in mind. The newer one did come with 5G, made it a little bit better for current day mobile technology, you know, with the towers and stuff like that. But overall, I mean, as a starter iPhone or a backup iPhone, or even passing it on to a kid or a teenager or something, this is a decent, very cheap option to get them into iOS if we know they like Apple. So, and even if it's for you and you just want to have a cheaper iPhone on the side, or it's going to be your main iPhone because it's what you can get right now, I don't think you're going to be too disappointed with the actual software experience. The only thing you might be craving is, you know, the more premium, newer iPhone designs with their industrial builds and things like that. But keep in mind, you know, for just $100 more or so, you can get an iPhone XR. You can pay $150 more, get like an iPhone 11 with a little bit more modern design. But if you're looking for something more up-to-date and modern, that's the only thing that makes this feel like, I don't know if I want that. But as a phone itself, I really can't knock it too much. So iPhone SE in 2023, if you're looking to buy one, I say go for it. It's a pretty decent steal right now, under $200. I mean, this one, when it came out, they wanted near $440 for it. So this thing is, you know, like 50% off from when it first came out. So it's a steal right now. Let me know your thoughts on the iPhone SE from 2020. Do you agree with my statements in this video? Do you agree with my comments? Do you believe this is worth it, or you believe it's not? Let me know what you think down below. And if you have one, share your experience with the community to help people out decide if this is going to be the phone for them to pick up here in 2023. I'll catch you on the next one. Nick here. Be sure to be well, and peace.